Okay, so now we continue with the second part of the rendering. The first one was blocking the content of the swords, and now we will continue with the slide rendering. So as I said before, the only thing that I use in this most of this content is dodge and burn, and I explained before, like I'm going to make a tiny demonstration. For example, the thing that I spoke about as choosing the opacity is this part in here: shadow, midtones, and highlights. So, for example, when you use shadows, like, okay, well, nothing. What happened? Like nothing happened. Well, technically speaking, it did happen, but it's too, as let's say it this way, the opacity was too low, and it's quite not visible for your eye to see it. So what happened when we switched to midtones? In this case, it's like making the opacity bigger, like let's say from 20% to a 50%. So when we do this, okay, so this is visible. This is visible. You can see it right now. Like there's a line like darkening in here. So if I undo this and if I choose highlights, this is it's even more in opacity, as you can see it. The same goes like for the dodge tool. So it's personal choice, so you can choose whatever you like option to use shadows, but most of the time I use most of them and shadow, midtones, and highlights for both of the the items. So okay, so we will just start doing some content in here. Probably at the first glance nothing is going to be visible, but later on you can see it. It will be. So don't panic about that. Just the only reason why I do this is I want to have control over what I do, not to, for example, if I go midtones, okay, you can see the darkening is quite bigger. So maybe we can use this one too, not too much. Okay, darkening, darkening. Don't worry about it. If you think that you have made some kind of a mistake, you have the options later on to correct that. Okay, this part in here, okay, this part in here. So okay. So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you will come to the part that you will probably like it most. Back and forth process, back and forth process. So just don't worry too much. Technically, you didn't make any mistake. It you can see, like, you can edit that. Okay, so now just zoom in, lower the brush. Okay, this part. Okay, this part. Now even smaller in here. Okay, separating. It's like separating these parts. Sweet. Okay. Something like, okay, bigger opacity. Bigger brush. Sorry about that. Something like this. Command minus, see your result. Again, here. And here too. Okay. It starts to block. So just don't be afraid to experiment probably in here to see how it's gonna look. Okay, nothing too fancy, nothing too simple. Okay, in this part you can just lower the opacity and just try to make something that it will probably look like an eye. You can even switch to the brush tool if you like. You don't have to worry about that. I mean, there is no mistake about that. I'm just maybe making the opacity bigger. Okay. Command plus to zoom in. Again, switching, going to the back. Okay. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Once again, you can even like lower the opacity a little bit so you can see like which content should be more dodged or burned. Okay, something like this, something like this. Okay, again, once again, lower the brush's opacity, diameter. Once again, sorry. Maybe a little bit in here to later on remember that in here it's going to be some kind of a design, as we said, some kind of a daimonic head or something like that. Okay, darkening a little bit again, the thinner line. Sweet. Okay. Tighter line. That's probably enough for now. Probably enough. Okay, go once again in here to darken a little bit more. Bigger brush. Smaller. One content in there. Once again, bigger brush. Separating this part and this part. Again, something like this. Bigger brush. Zoom in. Zoom out a little bit. Okay. So once again, zoom in. Go with a smaller brush, even smaller, to make tiny details. Like in here too, let's say something like that. Separating this part in here. Well, as I see, we made a mistake in here, but doesn't matter. It's not that important because later on we can fix that when we load it into Maya. Okay. Something is this. Okay. On the side part, once again, bigger brush, darkening a little bit, and darkening, dark. So now with the smaller brush, make this darker too.